Not a whole lot to say. That's different than Saturday evening. Gut-wrenching loss to our rivals. Heck of a football team led by a heck of a quarterback. I'm glad he's a senior, but he is all that everybody has made him cracked up to be. He is a heck of a player, and I wish them success in the rest of their career or rest of their season. But we gotta put that one past us. Not very often do you get to play the #1 offense in the country in back-to-back weeks, but we get that distinction this week, and a defense that's playing pretty well right now too. So, we understand that losing to Oklahoma is never fun. It's never easy. It stings worse than most losses do. But we also understand that we're one of a bunch of one-loss teams in this conference, and for us to maintain that level and status within our conference, we got to win this week. We got to go 1-0 this week, and I feel like the pulse of the locker room is that in terms of they were ready to get back to work yesterday, and ready to put last week behind them and move on to winning a game here at home. Questions?
Tom, I wanted to start big picture with you. At 3-3, how would you grade things here at the midway point? What have you liked? What have you not liked? What do you want to see get better, and where can this team get better?
We're well on schedule in terms of our effort level and physicality. And I told our assistant coaches when we started training camp that if we can get them to play hard and play physical, we'll have a chance to be in every game that we play. And we're here for a reason, and that's to rebuild this thing, from a bunch of years of mediocrity and sub-mediocrity, and we understand that that's going to take time. We also want to win right now too. So I think you can have that big picture understanding, but also your drive and dedication to make sure that we do our best to win every game. And so now we've got the playing hard and playing physical part figured out. We didn't in week 1, and I think we do now, and we understand that when you do that, you can take the #4 team in the country to double overtime. You can take, you could go down 20 points to a top 10 rival, and come all the way back to take the lead with 8 minutes left. So my challenge to our coaches this week was we got to get our guys playing smarter, and so that's the big challenge this week. And if that means we got to simplify some things and on both sides of the ball, we will. But we've got to reduce the amount of self-inflicted wounds, and there's never been a perfect game played, but we got to get a lot closer to it than where we're at right now.
A quick follow-up. Do you think that this team is what it is and you need to work on what you can, or do you think that there is still a higher ceiling than what they've shown?
I don't, in
terms of running the football. And
oh yeah, we got to get we're going to get better running the football. Okay. Yes, we're going to get better at playing assignment sound defense in pass coverage. We're going to get better at those things. There's no doubt in my mind. But I don't. So yeah, I guess there's a higher ceiling, but as far as attitude and effort and physicality go, I think I don't think many people would argue that we're a lot different than what we used to be, even a lot different than week 1.
Right, Dennis? Coach, you mentioned the #1 offense coming in. They get yardage in chunks. They make big plays, and UT's defense has had a little trouble with giving up the big play lately. What can you do? What have you seen? Do you know which way Orlando would go with moving this defense to as this beast comes at you?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm certainly not going to tell them our defensive game plan. But we got to get better defending the pass. You know, we're doing a good job defending the run. I think we did it early. We had some trouble against Oklahoma fitting the proper gaps on their counter scheme, but you know we got that corrected on the sideline after a series or two, and we've got to be more assignment sound in coverage. And if that means we run less coverages, then that's what that means. But let's at least. You know, don't be a jack of all trades, master of none. Let's be a master of a couple things. And so I think that's my big challenge to our staff this week is let's go master something on offense and defense, and let's be great at it, and let's make sure that, you know, and at the end of the day, if you're in the right place at the right time where you're supposed to be, and James Washington, you know, jumps over you and makes a hellacious catch, or Mason Rudolph threads the needle in between three guys in zone coverage, that's going to happen. They do that to a lot of people. But let's not beat ourselves. And I think if we can do that on both sides of the ball, then, you know, like I said, we'll play hard enough and physical enough to stay in it. And we got to take the next step and play a little bit smarter, and hopefully the outcome will be different.
Yeah, Tom, on your wide receivers, why has Colin Johnson been demoted? Is Armani still not practicing well enough to play? And did any of them perform at a championship level?
Colin did not have his best game. Dorian is playing well, so that's why. Armonte practiced really well this past week after a good conversation between myself and him and Coach Merringer. However, so did Reggie and Gerard. So, you know, I'm not sure who we want to put on the bench there, if we want to put Reggie or Gerard on the bench right now. So, you know, we talked to Armani, and you know, he's responded to it. Now, where does that fit? I don't know, because those guys are playing really well right now. And then, yeah, Gerard Hurd graded out as a champion.
Tom, wanted to ask you about Sam, his development, but also as effective as he's been in the run game. Do you worry at all about the accumulation of hits and punishment he takes if he continues to carry the ball as much as he has lately on that? And how do you kind of weigh those two things?
I do. I worry about it. I mean, we don't want our quarterback carrying it 20, 22 times. You know, now if you got to have it to win the game, you know, we're going to do whatever it takes to win the game. But you know, I think I said on the conference call, you know, he's like a wild horse right now that you're trying to tame him a little bit, but you don't want to take away his energy and one of the things that really makes him so effective. And so we had a conversation, him and myself, yesterday, that, you know, right now it's about pocket presence, and yeah, I get it. You know, you're going to see a sliver of opposite colored jersey flash across your face, or you're going to have to, you know, move 6 inches here, up, back, left, right. But let's hang in there a little bit longer, and you know, not at first sight of opposite colored jersey, tuck the ball and think we're Larry Zonka, you know, and then it turns into Coach, who's Larry Zonka, and then okay, Jerome Bettis, and so I had to use a different running back's name, but so we've had that conversation. I think there's always a fine line in dealing with guys that can make those plays with his feet. You know, I know the offensive line thanks him a lot, you know, for you know, dropping back as much as we've had to the last couple games and only giving up 1 sack. You know, with him in the ball game, I think is you know, they like playing for guys like that. It makes their job a little bit easier. But we've got to make sure that we're not doing it too much, that we're affecting, the long-term status of ourselves.
Tom, you're a handful of plays from being 5-1, but
No, we're not.
Huh?
Well, we're not.
But you're not. But I mean, there's growth. Do the guys see the growth, and how do you keep them engaged, even though your schedule's not very forgiving?
Well, I think we see the growth. I mean, there were points in that game. Again, I'll go back to when true freshman Sam Ellinger was in the backfield with true freshman Tennille Carter, with true freshman Cade Brewer, with true freshman right tackle Derek Kerstetter, with basically redshirt freshman left tackle Denzel Okafor, and true sophomore Zach Shackelford at center. So we get that this is, especially on that side of the ball, we're growing, and we're growing each week, and I think we're getting better every week. And keeping the guys engaged. I think the beauty of having such a difficult schedule is that they do stay engaged. The engagement's not the problem. It's the going out every Saturday and playing that schedule that I looked in our 12-game schedule. We'll have played 7 teams that were at one point in the top 25, and 4 teams that at one point were in the top 10. So it doesn't get much tougher than that, and especially in this 4-week stretch, to play 3 top 10 teams in a 4-week stretch, that's tough. But our guys, I think they kind of like it. I think they want to prove their mettle, so to speak, and get to display some of that growth each and every week.
Coach, when you were answering Brian's question, you kind of used that word rebuild, which sometimes makes it seem like you may not win a lot, especially in year one. I would like to maybe get your definition of what rebuild is, like kind of the things that you're working on here and trying to instill here in the program here in year one.
I think one of them has been very evident is the intensity and physicality that we play with. I think a sense of accountability and brotherhood, which, again, I've had numerous players tell me that they feel, closer to their teammates now than they ever have, which is big. And but we also understand that this wasn't, this is a process. This is a journey. We're building a program, not a season, and not a team. And not a game. So we need to. We need to be mindful of where we're headed and the journey that we're on, but also be urgent with how we get there so that we can win and win now.
Tom, speaking of toughness with Ellinger, were you surprised he came back into that game after the hit his head took? And did you personally follow up with him when you met with him to see, what was going on there, if there were any residual effects or follow up on that? And secondly, are you surprised that you're not, I know you've got the patchwork offensive line, but are you surprised you're not running the ball better with your backs at this point?
Yeah, Sam, was I surprised? No. I just, when it comes to injuries, we do what the doctor tells us to, and when he says he's fine, he's fine. And then, we followed up. He was cleared for practice yesterday. He practiced, and he feels great. Am I surprised that we're not running the ball better with our backs? I don't know if surprised. Frustrated is probably a better word. Knowing the inexperience of what's in front of them makes it a little less surprising, but still nonetheless, equally frustrating. But it's something that we're getting better. You know, I mean, every rep Denzel Okafor takes in a game, he gets better. I mean, yeah, I know there were times when he got beat against number 31, but those, whatever it was, 71 plays that he had to block number 31 in that ball game made him a better football player. And the same with Derek Kerstetter, and the same with Terrell Cooney, and the same with Zach Shackelford. He's still a young guy too, with not very many games under his belt. So, you know, we're a work in progress there. I'm pleased with how those guys attack their work and their work ethic and their level of commitment to getting that better, and the same with our backs too. I mean, there's you know, we gotta help the O-line as much as we can with that position group as well. So not surprised, but still frustrated, and again, there's a big sense of urgency on that side of the ball to make sure that we get that part of things better.
Tom, a couple days into the job, Sam came over here and met with you. I think he had a cast on his hand at that point. What impression did he make on you when you guys first met here?
Oh, just the maturity level. You know, I think I've said it before. I mean, there's probably no secret as to why. But, you know, some guys are, you know, I think there's, I think I've said this before, like with size, speed, strength, intelligence, God creates us all with a genetic potential. Like, hey, this is your ceiling, you know. You know, it doesn't matter how much you train, Max, you're probably not going to run a 4.240. You know, so because God has created your genetic potential to be at a limit for speed. And I think the same is true for maturity and leadership and, you know, kind of the intangible things as well that God, or whatever you believe in, you know, gives you this genetic potential, and then there are things that happen in your life that that test where you're at. And obviously losing your father in the 8th grade with a mom and a couple siblings at the house, you know, you don't want to say that ever, you know, made Sam who he is, because I don't know what that genetic potential was, but I know that distinct you know, tragedy in his life certainly brought out that genetic potential. And so you know, that was one thing, and just hearing his story when he came that day and listening to his mom, you know, you could tell that this was a 17-year-old grown man. And there was no surprise as to why when you hear his story.
Coach, you know, TCU beat Oklahoma State with running the ball. Obviously, that's a situation you guys really want to work on. But Oklahoma State got back in the game with their big chunk plays. It's really what they do. How do you combat trying to go mano-a-mano with these chunk plays? Is that something that you're thinking about?
It is. We've got to be more explosive on offense. And for us, that's, you know, we got to create some explosive. We got to throw the ball down the field a little bit more and better. Yeah, TCU ran that. I just got done watching that video. You know, they're pretty proficient at running the football on most anybody. You know, that tailback they have from George Ranch is a heck of a player, dynamic dynamic guy. And their O-line is pretty good. I don't know anything about them on, you know, other than that. But I think we've got to do a better job. I think at times we have to, you know, for us, we got to play at a better pace. You know, for us, letting defensive linemen dig their cleats in the ground and get set all the time and, you know, come jumping off the ball is probably not in our best interest. That in order to run the ball, maybe some of that is a little bit more tempo and, you know, maybe try to, you know, confuse a defense with a formation or motion or whatever. But certainly just going mano in the run game is not in our best interest, and that's where coaching and creativity come in. And then I think, what you have to prepare, it's really difficult kind of high wire act that you have to work in the psychology of defense when you're playing teams like Oklahoma or Oklahoma State, where you say, do we want to shut them out? Yeah, we want to shut them out, and we're going to do everything we can to shut them out. Nobody's done that yet, so let's play great defense. Let's play the best defense we can in the red zone and on third down to get them off the field, and if they do happen to get in the red zone, only give up 3 points. And I think those are the big areas that you focus on is red zone and third down. And if they make a big play here or there, I mean, one of the best plays of training camp that we use over and over and over again was we were in a scrimmage, and Chris Boyd got beat on a pass. It was a deep pass. I can't remember who. Maybe it was Colin or somebody, but he didn't give up, and he tracked him down and tackled him on the 2-yard line. Could have easily just said, "I'm beat. The guy's by me. Let's let him walk in the end zone." Tackled him on the 2-yard line, and the defense caused a fumble the very next play. And so I think that's the biggest thing that you take away from big plays is just get them down before they cross that line. Get them down, and let's line up and play again. And if we play really hard and really smart, eventually good things are going to happen.
Tom, you've mentioned him a couple times. What has Derek Kerstetter shown you this season? Because I assume what you guys expected of him before the season is a lot different than what he's doing right now. Toughness.
I wasn't sure, and not because I had a preconceived notion. I just didn't know Derek very well. That whole class, a lot of those guys, if we weren't recruiting them at Houston, it was like speed dating. You're trying to develop these relationships with these kids and families in, a couple weeks worth of time. And so just, wasn't sure what we had there other than what I'd seen on film, but his toughness is off the charts, for a true freshman. And, he's still, I think he's only 280 pounds. He's still got years worth of development from a strength and size standpoint to work on. But this is a guy that's going to scratch and claw and scrape for everything and give you everything he's got to make sure his guy doesn't make the tackle. And so it's been fun to see. I've never played. I say that. I don't know that I've ever played with. I take that back. Our center at Houston was a true freshman and played well for us. But you don't see many true freshmen playing, especially at tackle at this level, and he's doing an admirable job of it.
Tom, that whole starting fast, easier said than done. Last 2 games down 2 scores before you guys score. Is that a point of concern? Is there something that can change with that you can somewhat control?
It is a point of concern. A couple games here and there, you chalk it up to, whatever, good defense or, lack of rhythm or whatever. But this has been a consistent thing now the last few games. And so we got to figure out why. That was one of the big questions I asked, in our offensive staff meeting yesterday is, yeah, I know. Everybody can tell me the what. We're not starting fast. We went 4 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. 3 and out, I think. And what was it, 225 yards to 19 in the first quarter. So it's never a position that you want to be in. So I've got to do a good job as a head coach because obviously we started slow on both sides of the ball in that game. We hadn't, on defense we've been playing pretty well early in the game. So I've got to look at what I'm doing. I don't have a good answer for you right now other than we're uncovering every stone and really self-evaluating, what we're doing as coaches to make sure that, we breathe a little life into us, especially on offense, earlier. And again, maybe if that's going a little bit more tempo early and you know, trying to force the issue a little bit when it comes to a rhythm standpoint, I think is the best thing offensively. And then, you know, as a team, you know, I hesitate a little bit because, I mean, boy, that, you know, that Iowa State game and USC game and even Kansas State, I know we were down 10-0, but, you know, we were playing really, you know, held them to 18 yards rushing in the first half. And so, you know, I hesitate to go a little too far there because I think, you know, we've got it at least much more consistently figured out on that side of the ball than we do offensively. And so we got to figure out ways to manufacture it offensively.
Coach, what do you make of where Josh Rowland is at right now and how that's affecting your fourth down decision making?
It felt good that he jogged in right at the end of the half and made the kick. I'm sure that was a pretty big monkey off his back, and so that felt good. Even he would tell you in that wind, you know, a 44, 40, whatever, 43, 44, 45 yarder would have been pretty difficult, you know. And so I think every game is unique. You know, we were down 17-0, and, you know, the ball was on the, whatever it was, 40 or something. It was 4th and 6 or something. And at that point, it's like, man, we need something. We just crossed the 50 for the dang first time. You know, what am I? I'm going to jog the punter out there from the 40-yard line and, you know, pooch kick it or take a delay a game or whatever. And it's like, no, just let's go. Let's see if we can manufacture something here on that one. And then the other one was just not feeling great about the field goal. And then obviously the only other one we didn't convert was out of necessity at that point in the game. So I feel good about Josh. I do. And you would too if you saw what I see every day in practice.
Coach, in the last two games, you've given up an 82, 59, and 54-yard touchdown. Are those three independent breakdowns defensively, or is there something that you're seeing that's happening?
Independent.
They're all three independent.
Yeah.
Tom, just back to the big picture thing real quick, because the halfway point in the season is kind of a natural point to assess things. When you first came to Texas, or even after the spring, did your assessment of where the program is kind of jive with where things stand right now, or have there been anything that you've seen during the course of the season that's surprised you, good or bad?
The first game surprised me. I think it surprised everybody. You know, there was a lot of introspection after that game. You know, where did I go wrong? Where did we go wrong as a staff? But then after that, you know, I think you said, you know, where does it jive, or what has surprised you? The way that we responded from that was awesome, and how we played against San Jose State, and how we continued to play against USC, and how we played against Iowa State and then Kansas State. And so, you know, we really, really responded from that and learned some really valuable lessons. So, again, I think we are on track from a effort, intensity, physicality standpoint. You know, we want to win them all. So, you know, am I happy with where we're at on in the win-loss column? No, I'm not. Nor am I where I thought we were, because as a coach, you don't ever let yourself think you're going to be, you have any of those under the L column. But I do know that, you know, if we can find a way as coaches to, you know, eliminate just a few of those self-inflicted wounds and get us to play with that same level of intensity and physicality that we have been the last 5 weeks, and put that together with a little bit more focus and detail and doing your job on every single snap, then, you know, then I'll be happy. And we'll let the chips fall where they may there. But we got to do a better job of making sure that we get that out of our kids.
Time for two last ones, Kirk and Chip.
Yeah, Tom, is making a bowl game kind of the minimum standard you're going to have for every season, and how critical is it for this first season here?
I don't put minimum standards on, you know, everybody, you want to, well, would you call this season a success? When you I hear that all the time. Well, there's only one team that wins the national championship every year. There's only one team that wins the Super Bowl. There's only one team that wins the World Series. So I think success has a lot of different definitions. And for us, the only big picture goal, we've never said we want to make a bowl game, or we want to beat Oklahoma, or we want to beat USC. We say we want to be in the conversation for the Big 12 title in the months of November and December. And every year, if we are in that position, then we'll have considered that season a success, dependent on the different variables that happen in each season.
Last one, Chip.
Tom, can you talk about your receivers blocking? Are they doing a good enough job of blocking downfield? Are they doing a good enough job of coming back to Sam when he's extending plays, or finding open grass when he's extending plays?
We got to get better in the scramble drill, especially with that kid at quarterback. And we made a big emphasis on that yesterday, and we will continue to do that this week. But blocking in the run game, I think they're doing a good job. We can always do better, but it's one thing in this program that receivers are going to be known to be physical, and if an opponent can click that video on and when they're scouting you and say, man, look at these guys and how well they block in the run game, then consider yourself having their respect. And so that's a big point of pride for us at that position, and I think they're on track. Thanks.
Thanks.